Well, Tony, just the game's here. How do you feel about your offense heading into the first game?
You know, we're very excited right now where we're at. We feel like we're pretty healthy up front in our skill position at quarterback. We've had a really good camp. The kids have worked their tails off, taken from what we did in the spring and then into the summer and now into fall camp. And now it's time to go out there and get on the field on Saturday and see what we can do.
Safe to assume Brandon is your guy at quarterback?
You know what? If you guys got anything on the two deep or the injuries, you definitely need to talk to Coach B right now, and he's the guy for you guys, and I'm sure you'll get to ask him.
Understood. I want to ask, what is this opportunity for Brandon? What have you seen from him in 8 months that you've been with him?
You know what? I see a kid that's really worked hard at things that we've talked about as far as just changing a little bit. He's really worked hard at taking care of the football, what we've talked about there, ball security, which is such a huge part of winning football games. And then just his overall command of the huddle, trying to be that quarterback, that leader out there. He's not naturally that outspoken type of a leader, but he's working on it every day, and he's really gotten a lot better at it, and I give him a lot of credit. He's worked very hard on it. He's gotten better.
When you guys set out to kind of shape this offense when you were hired, does it look like about what you envisioned when you sat down in those first early meetings, or have you done a decent amount of tweaking and modifying as you've seen the team on the field and kind of reshape the roster a little bit?
You know, I think as you go, first of all, yes, I think it's very much what Coach B and I sat down and talked about. We talked about putting together, Illinois' offense. And that's what we've done right now. But at the same point, you've got certain pieces as you go that all of a sudden get a little bit better here, a little bit worse. You got to tweak this and that, and you got to go with what you got. Sometimes it's up front things change. Sometimes it changes in the skill position. I know after spring ball, when all of a sudden Isiah decided to go to the slot receiver, that changes us on offense. It makes a big difference right there. So we've added some wide receivers. We've added some depth, some guys at quarterback that have helped. So we've kind of morphed into and changed as we went. And I think you always got to do that to be the offense we want to be.
Tony, what do you see as the strengths or what stands out to you about Nebraska's defense?
You know what, Nebraska's defense, we've got two guys that are highlighted for them that kind of stick out, and that's their nickel, number 13, and he kind of plays their nickel and outside linebacker, and then their corner, number 5. But they're big and strong up front. I wouldn't say they're, the strength and the size of them up front is probably is an asset for them. They've got 10 starters back. Anytime you got 10 guys coming back that have played the last year, I think that's huge. Especially in the back end, they've got both safeties and the corner, number 5, and then the inside linebackers are solid. So I look at them as a solid defense with a lot of returning starters that know what they're doing.
And then the development with the tight ends, your tight ends, how you've seen Luke, Daniel, and the other guys come along.
Luke and Daniel and Tip have really probably our top 3 in our group right now. All 3 of them are doing well and getting better every day. And when you've got some tight ends that got their ability, which we do, we've got to use them, and we're always going to use tight ends here. I love tight ends. Coach B loves tight ends. They're big time in the running game and the passing game, and we're going to do everything we can to keep developing those guys and then also keep adding to that position.
We talked a lot about the running back, so how do you you have a good amount of guys who could potentially make an impact. How have you kind of decided to maybe divvy up those carries, or how do you determine who gets substantially more kind of on the way?
Well, you're kind of asking another Coach B question. You can keep trying, but we feel like we got 5 guys that can play, and that's a good thing. A bad thing is it's hard to play 5 running backs. But I've been in situations before in these type of offenses in this league where you can go from 5 running backs to 2 or 3 in a hurry. So to have some depth there is a blessing. It's awesome for us. We got 5 great kids that we feel like we can go into football games and play at a level to win Big Ten football games. And so, how we use that on Saturday, we'll kind of see how we go right there. But we feel fortunate we got 5 guys that know what they're doing and play good football.
Tony, what's your game day operation? Do you like to be in the booth? And if so, why?
Yeah, I'm going to be in the booth.
Yeah.
Anytime I've called plays, I think I've only been on the sideline 1 year out of 31 years, and that was the year I spent in Missouri as an analyst. So, and that really didn't count. So, I've always been up there. You can see up there. It's much more calm up there. I don't know why you'd want to call offensive plays from down the sideline. I know some people do, but that's just doesn't make any sense to me.
You mentioned maybe building an Illinois offense. Just what was maybe enjoyable about that process where you're putting some working together new? And then also, were there any challenges of trying to figure out maybe what was best for an Illinois offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun because we sat down and like Coach B had some thoughts that he wanted to do. I've got some thoughts. We brought George McDonald's here. We got Bart Miller. We got Ben Miller. We got, Corey Patterson. We got guys from all over the place, and everybody had some thoughts right there. We looked at the guys that we had, and we put in the best offense that we felt like we were going to be successful with moving forward. And it always starts with being able to run the ball and being good up front, and then it kind of goes from there. So it was a lot of fun to do. It's still fun. We're changing every day as we go, but we're going to have our way of doing it on offense at Illinois, and it's going to kind of stay that way unless we had some major problems at certain positions.
How important was Corey to that process, kind of being the holdover from the previous staff, kind of really knowing the talent that was already on that offense?
I think Corey was huge. He's a great coach. He's a very good recruiter. He does a great job down in St. Louis. I mean, he's an awesome person first and foremost, which is, I give Coach B all the credit. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never been on a staff that's this close, both sides of the ball together. I mean, it's just, we have a great staff that works together. Corey helps with the running backs big time, and as far as a guy that was kept from the previous staff, it really helped as far as his insight, on different guys, how they might have been handled before, but also moving forward, it was a clean slate for us as far as everything that we did. But his knowledge on a lot of the situations was very helpful.
Tony, the team is really experienced up front on the offensive line. How much do you think that helps, not from like I guess a football standpoint, playing, but just preparing for a game, knowing that they've been through this process, dozens of times before?
Yeah, any time, I think quarterbacks and offensive line are similar positions. Any time that you have people at those positions that have played in a lot of football games, it helps. Now, we might term things different. We might have a different look in offense, but they've still played in football games, especially Big Ten football games. Whether it's Brandon, all the guys up front, I mean, we've got experience at those positions, and that always helps, so it's invaluable.
What was that competition like on the offensive line? Would you learn about your guys?
You know what? Our offensive line, I love those guys. I mean, they're fighters from Velo to Doug, Pearl, Blake. I mean, we got a bunch of great guys. I mean, we'd like to have you, and you always would. You'd always like to have more depth. Like to have more depth up front. But love those guys up front. They come to work every day, and they've just done a great job.
Your wide receiver group probably changed the most from into spring practice to training camp, just with the guys added in Isiah's position switch. What did you see from that group since August started that maybe was different than from the spring?
Well, the biggest thing is just the change in personnel. Who's out there. All of a sudden, you had Casey Washington, who wasn't there in the spring. You had Isiah, who wasn't there in the spring. You had Jafar, who wasn't there in the spring. You had Peyton Vining, who wasn't there in the spring. Not only do we have guys that potentially could be our starters out there that weren't practicing with us in the spring, but also you had depth to the wide receiver room. So the biggest difference was strictly in personnel.
Well, I guess when you've got so many guys maybe just starting with training camp, what was maybe the challenge of getting them up to speed in a shorter amount of time than you had with the rest of the group?
Well, we worked hard with them in the summer. Anytime we had the opportunity and we had the time to do it, we worked with them to get them up to speed. And then they've busted their butts out there, to learn our system and to get going in as fast as possible. As far as Isiah, it was a little bit different for him because he came from my room. So, coming from the quarterback room, anytime a quarterback goes to wide receiver, I mean, really, he should know the offense as well or better than anybody out there. So it was a pretty easy transition for him. What he had to do was get with Coach McDonald now on his little details of how to play the wide receiver position. Whereas Casey was totally different because Casey has to come in and he's got to learn a new system right now and he's got to learn it in a hurry. But he's picked up on it fast. All the new guys have, and it's been some bumps and bruises through camp getting them up to speed. But they're going well and doing a great job.
Tony, you mentioned your work with Jeff Driscoll before. Your 1 year with him. You get 1 year with Brandon. What's that like to have 1 year with a guy and try and get the most out of him? And what is the key to getting the most out of a guy for 1 year?
You know what? I sat down. I did the same thing I did with Jeff. I've had 3 or 4 1-year guys, and I wish I could have more with all of them. Same with BP.
Yeah.
I'd love to have BP for 3 years. But I sat down the first day with them and I said, listen, my job is to help you have the best year of your career. I said, that's it. And I said, I think if you listen to me and you listen to Coach B, we can accomplish that and you can go out and have the best year of your career.
And how have you seen that from him?
He's working his tail off every day to do that, and he's not only physically, mentally, but also what we're talking about from a leadership standpoint and commanding the huddle out there, and can't be more pleased with where he's at right now.
You mentioned Casey. Just does he give you something maybe unique, different than the rest of the receivers you have?
You know what? Casey's got good size, speed, and he's got great hands. So, you know, you find a receiver that's got good size and speed and great hands, you know, you're going to like that guy a lot. So he makes the contested catches. He's learned the offense and picked it up, and you know, pretty fast and getting better at it every day. But if the ball's close to him in his catch radius, he usually comes down with it, and he can run. And you know, I don't know what else you can ask for from a wideout.
Tony, you've had a lot of season openers in your life, but this is, you know, a new school, debuting the new Illinois offense. Just what's the feelings for you going into all this? Is it confidence, nerves, and something else?
You know, probably if I had to pick one word, it'd be excited. You know, I'm excited to go out there and watch these guys perform on Saturday against Nebraska in Memorial Stadium. I mean, I really can't wait. I loved my time in the Big Ten before when I was a young coach. I'm so fired up to be back here and have the opportunity to be here. And our kids they've worked so hard the whole time we've been here, and I can't wait to go out and watch them. I can't say with confidence, I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm excited about it. I think we're ready, and I can't wait to go out and watch them.
Tony, how much did you have to flip the script, like you said, when Isiah goes to wide receiver? I mean, that's obviously got to be a great problem to have. It's okay, how do we get number one in football? But how much of that discussion happened this summer before you ever got a chance to work with him?
I mean, the offense is still made to get that person the football. You know, like right now, if you've got a player like Isiah that you consider, you know, a little bit more of what I'd call a special player when he's got the ball in his hands, and he's still got to go out and prove that. You know what I'm saying? He's still young, but we look at him as a guy, when he's got the ball in his hands, he can do some special things. And so when you're game planning, a little bit more might go into certain types of plays to make sure he gets the type of touches that you need right there. But when he moved in there, really, I mean, we kept running the offense, and he makes a difference when he gets the ball in his hands.
Is there anything, I mean, you guys obviously have used terms like that, special with the ball in his hands. Is there anything surprising, just the speed of which he's seemingly, I know the quarterback thing helped, but do you ever step back and think, oh wow, this is kind of feels like an accelerated timeline for him to get the grasp of the position?
Isiah's just got, when you watch him and he got out there early for us and he starts running some certain routes that we're working hard on with guys, and all of a sudden you watch him run that route and he's never really done it with us, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's it right there. And he has some natural God-given ability that sticks out big time at that position, and he's got great hands. He's a competitor. He likes to win. I mean, he's everything you want out there. And he did a great job for me at quarterback, but, you know, I think he made the right decision. This is the best position for him, and it's where he can help the team the most.
How much will it help him after the first catch? How important is that first catch for the game?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's probably pretty big. You know, he's never had a catch at wide receiver in the Big Ten. Go out there and catch a ball. Sometimes it's like a quarterback, go out and get hit for the first time in the game. I don't know. I mean, Isiah's played in a lot of football games. He seems to handle things very well upstairs mentally, and I'm excited, and I hope his first play is a big one.
Anything else from Coach?